Assalamu alaikum. This is Ali Farooq, and with me I have Hamza Abbasi again. Hamza, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So here we are with another episode. Hamza, this is a kind of a fun topic, but kind of a necessity one for us to discuss. Why are we as Muslims always focused on conspiracies? Everything is a conspiracy.
Yeah,
everything is against us.
I know it happens because we Muslims in South Asia also and around the world, we've had a very, very glorious 1,000 past years, right?
Are they?
They were very glorious. I mean, politically, we've ruled half of the world. In subcontinent, there were moles. So we have that past glory syndrome in our head. So now we're not really that important in the world, right?
Yeah.
We're not really important in the world, but we can't digest that. So it's very natural for a nation or a group of people who are downtrodden and had a glorious past to fantasize about their glorious past and blame all their failures in the present on conspiracies, right?
Yeah.
Usne sazish kar di, usne sazish kar di, wo sazish kar raha hai. That's natural but tragic. I say we need to get rid of it now and we need to say कि हमारा क्या कसूर है.
No, but let's put few examples out there and try to talk about it. And this is again an attempt to help people understand. And my concept is empathy. Let's try to look at it from other people's. Honestly speaking, a person born non-Muslim in America, in England, Australia, wherever, has no idea what we think, what Islam is, what is our message. They grow up in their own wilderness, in their old thinking, right? And they grow up from their perspective as very good human beings. They grow up and develop their careers, go into big Facebook, Google's work out there or become politicians. They have no idea what we're thinking. Not everyone is thinking about Islam or trying to crush us about Islam, right? But then and freedom of expression, what they learn is how they learned it, how the society taught them, and they don't have the same culture, the same preservations of society as we look at them, right? So keeping all of that in mind, there are a lot of issues, right? So empathy, like how can we teach the people, the audience, that start looking at it from their angle? They might not be bad people. They might be actually very good people and at times much better than us for many human values that we want to preach as part of Islam, right? So think about, for example, West conspiracies. In Pakistan, if you go, you see that there's this left society and right society, conservatives and liberals, and West has hired our liberals.
And modern scholars.
To actually change the message, the conservative message.
There's a big global conspiracy against Islam going on in the West, right?
Yes.
That's the popular tareen aajkal conspiracy. Number one, it's very tragic that we align ourselves with countries who are literally enemies of every religion, including Islam.
Yes.
We are best friends with those countries. You can't even build a small mosque in those countries, in their capitals, right?
Yes.
We're best friends with them, but we say that the conspiracy is in the West, right? I've never heard of any Maulvi taking a report of a Chinese think tank and saying that, look, they want to change Islam. It's always either Europe or America. Big tragedy. No, it's hypocrisy. People who live here, absolute freedoms, right, of religion. You can build a mosque anywhere, especially in these countries, where you have democracy, where you rule of law. You tell me then, does it make sense that those countries who are giving you every freedom to practice your religion, to build your mosque, to pray, in these countries, Ramadan is now almost a national thing now, right? Presidents are wishing you Ramzan Mubarak. Prime ministers in these countries are wishing you, kabhi Justin Trudeau, kabhi Biden, kabhi Flana, kabhi ye. Then आपका mind कैसे process करता है कि the same people are now indulged in the most lethal conspiracy internationally against Islam? Doesn't make sense.
It does not. Half of the time, people don't even know about it. People don't even know what Muslims are, what Ramadan is. I mean, I'm saying that just people are just so innocent. I mean, talking about here, as we are here in US, right? Our mosques are protected on Friday prayers by their police, white police. American police.
Even मैं वहाँ पे जाऊँगा ज़रा UK के अंदर. Do you realize वहाँ पे there is a lot of I don't want to name an organization. So how do we put it? There is a lot of extremist organizations, very well-known extremist organization, not extremist, borderline terrorist, whose agenda is that in UK or in Europe, we'll topple the non-Muslim governments and put on Muslim governments there. Yeah. These organizations have rallies in these countries, UK, Europe, And those rallies are protected by their police, right? And then we say the same countries are conspiring against Islam. It doesn't make sense. I would disagree with you that these are simple people, innocent people. They don't know us. They know us more than we know us. And they're right. Isn't it true that 99.9% of the mainstream Islamic interpretation is that you should not live in non-Muslim countries? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Hannah, isn't it true that the mainstream Islamic narrative is that if you end up living in Muslim countries, your number one priority should be politically to topple their non-Muslim governments and establish Islamic rule? Isn't it so?
Yes.
Isn't it so in 99.9% of the Islamic mainstream narrative?
Yes.
Isn't it so कि non-Muslims के ऊपर humiliation के लिए jizya tax नाफिज करना चाहिए in Islamic governments?
Yeah.
Isn't it true कि वो non-Muslim second class citizens होंगे? True or false?
Yeah.
Isn't it true कि अगर आप homosexual हैं तो आपकी गर्दन उड़ा देनी चाहिए इस्लाम के अंदर? Mainstream जो narrative है. Isn't it true?
Yes.
दाइश कौन थी? यहूदी थी. दाइश क्रिश्चियन थी. Al-Qaeda कौन है? वो एथियस्ट है. The world knows our mainstream narrative. And our mainstream narrative, एक तो ये कि it has nothing to do with our deen. अल्लाह ताला ने कभी नहीं कहा कि इन मुल्कों में जाके इनकी उल्टाओ और वहाँ पे जाके मुसलमान हुकूमतें कायम करो, इवन तो आपको सारी आज़ादियाँ दे रहे हैं. क्या नजाशी के दरबार में जाके हमने ये कहा था कि हम हबशा में इस्लाम कायम करेंगे? कहा था? They know what most of us, 99.9% of us are saying, और बड़ा ज़र्फ है इन मुल्कों का कि फिर भी आपको आने देते हैं. हमारे मुल्क में, tell me, what if in Pakistan, $1 million question, now you answer me. What if in Pakistan there was rallies by Ahmadis or Christians or Hindus और उनका मैनिफेस्टो ये हो कि हम इस्लामी हुकूमत को गिरा के अपने मजहब की हुकूमत या नाफिज करेंगे और अपने मजहब के कवानीन या नाफिज करेंगे? How would we treat these people if they did this to us? How would we treat them? बड़ा genuinely मुझे जवाब बताना.
I mean, there'll be street riots. There'll be street riots to kind of honor those people. Let's say that
civil war, they'll be killed. They'll be brutally massacred. Yes. And by the way, it has happened in our countries. It has happened to Hindus. It has happened to a lot of other religious backgrounds, right? So, West को पता है हमारा, हमें भी पता है हमारा. हमें थोड़ा सा इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए, अपने अंदर देखना चाहिए कि क्या डिफरेंट तरह की इंटरप्रिटेशंस तो नहीं है हमारे यहाँ. क्या वाकई अल्लाह मियाँ ने कहा है कि हमने गैर मुस्लिम हुकूमतों को तबाह करके अपनी शरीयत नाफिज करनी है? वो शरीयत जिसका हम खुद नहीं श्योर कि क्या होगी.
उससे पहले तो आई थिंक बिफोर दैट देयर इज अनदर क्वेश्चन, राइट? आई मीन आवर ओन एक्सपीरियंसेस. यू कम हियर, यू नो, यू विल बी सेफ. You come here, you know, you will be given justice.
And you'll be free to worship your Lord.
And you'll be
free to pray. You'll be free to publicly pray.
So it just beats my mind. I just can't simply understand some of the things that I learned when I was growing up. And it's also about, execution of a good human being, right? How do you practice? Speaking the truth, right? Taking care of others. For example, look at handicapped people. I had no idea. The only thing I learned growing up was to laugh at them.
Langda, lula.
And over here I thought, okay, you learn respect and how to take care, right? So aren't these civic ethics, of how a society should be raised? And these people execute. So how come we are thinking that those conspiracies are going to be created by these people who are actually taking the humanity to another level, right? So again, going back,
that's basically we blaming our failures on the external factor, because that unites you even in your darkest times. If you have an external enemy, कि हम तबाह हो गए, बर्बाद हो गए, खुद हमने जुए खेले, पैसे उड़ा दिए, लेकिन हम ब्लेम करेंगे तीसरे बंदे को, तो हमें भी अच्छा लगेगा.
Hamza, take it back. You've traveled the world, right? I guess.
You could say 40% of the world.
40%, that's a lot. I thought I traveled a lot, but probably 40% as well, maybe a little less. But whenever you go and the respect you get in most of the non-Muslim countries is phenomenal. Certainly there are certain Muslim countries that are really good as well. I'm not saying that, but there are countries where I thought I was not treated properly just because I was from Pakistan. And from one Muslim country to another. I went as a Muslim from Pakistan when I had the Pakistani passport to Switzerland, treated with respect, right? And I went to that particular country, I don't want to name it, and then it was treated as if, you're some labor class, just stand on that, and maybe you're some extremist. Where does that...
Is it an Arab country?
It's an Arab country, of course. Some of them are good. I mean, just the point is that we think Muslims are one nation, but why doesn't it show in real life, in reality?
One, who told you Muslims are one nation?
That's the one message. हम एक कौम है, हम मुसलमान कौम है.
एक तो यहाँ ये अच्छी बात है, we should debunk that. Nowhere in Quran और आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम has said कि मुसलमान एक कौम है. मुसलमान एक अखुवत है, एक ब्रदरहुड है. कौम आपकी वही है जो आपका मुल्क है, जो आपका इलाका है. ये कहीं पे भी नहीं है. ये बहुत बड़ी मिसकंसेप्शन है. मैंने भी बचपन में हाँ उम्मत है, अखुवत है, ब्रदरहुड है, कौम नहीं है. बिकॉज इफ यू आर अ कौम, तो देन यू शुड हैव वन कंट्री. Then what happens to all the Muslims living in, let's say, America or Argentina or Russia, for example? अल्लाह ताला ने कहीं नहीं कहा ये कि आप कौम है. ये हमने सोच लिया कि हम कौम है.
But we have issues with everything that happens in the Muslim society as if it's our own problem, and at times we go and have riots for things that happen in other Muslim countries, forgetting, and actually we injure our own assets.
Because if we stick with what Allah Ta'ala has said in the Quran, we'll be fine. We're a brotherhood. When we try to falsely become a united qawm, तो फिर यही हो रहा है, फिर riots ही होंगे.
So what do the audience, how would you explain to them? You are a famous person coming out of Pakistan. How would you explain them the empathy concept? They look at others from the way they look at you.
In one sentence. जो मैं भी नहीं कह रहा, Allah Ta'ala कह रहा है. Do and say to others as you wish should be done and said to you. If you don't do that, you're a bad person.
And how do people kill the conspiracies?
By looking at the reality.
By
looking at the reality. For example, I know these guys, amazing guys by the way in Islamabad. Fantastic guys. बहुत इस्लाम से प्यार करते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा उनमें पैशन भी है, जज्बा भी है. I won't name them, but if they guess that I'm talking about them, I want you to know I love you guys. They're doing brilliant work. But they focus on these conspiracy theories. Young boys, great boys, but focus on conspiracy theories. Now, they presented the Rand Corporation report, right? They presented a publicly available Rand Corporation report publicly on their website. It's publicly available. Now, imagine if America was hatching the biggest conspiracy against Islam. Would it be publicly available on the internet for anybody to download and see the conspiracy? No, right? But it is. So they downloaded it. Now, what they have done is in that report, the Rand Corporation people have divided Muslims into different segments, right? What they term as conservatives or extremists. And they say they can't be our friends. And the moderates and liberals, they can be our friends. बस ये उन्होंने लिख दिया और हमने पकड़ ली बात. And those guys and Islam में भी ये Rand Corporation की रिपोर्ट रख के people say, see, they extremist, conservative enemies, moderate liberals friends. इसका मतलब है whoever is now in good terms with the West is a moderate and liberal, right? And we are extremists and we are proud of it. अल्लाह के बंदों वो रिपोर्ट पढ़ो. मैंने पढ़ी है during my time when I was studying. Read the report. I agree with it.
Yeah, I mean,
let me add here. That classification they did is extremist conservative. वही जो मैंने भी थोड़ी देर पहले कहा है कि those Muslims who want to topple non-Muslim governments, establish their own law there, enforce their own sharias there, enforce दुपट्टे there, नकाब there, दाढ़ियाँ there, शलवारें ऊपर टखनों से करो. उनको कहा गया है कि ये हमारे दोस्त नहीं हो सकते because they want to topple our governments.
Yeah.
People like us who say कि ये अल्लाह का हुक्म नहीं है. Islam is a message. All you need to do till the day of judgment is take it to the world because now the world is safe. Nobody's going to behead you for taking the Quran to them. So ये अल्लाह का हुक्म नहीं है. हमें वो कहते हैं कि यार इनसे बात हो सकती है, ये हमारे मुल्कों को फतह नहीं करना चाहते. बट हमारे मुसलमानों की हालत देखेंगे. हमने उस रैंड रिपोर्ट जो पब्लिकली अवेलेबल है उसको ना पढ़ा ना कुछ किया. वो टेबल लेके डिवाइडिंग मुस्लिम्स इनटू 3 ग्रुप्स. हमने कहा जी ये देखें कंस्पिरेसी सबसे बड़ी हो रही है.
Yeah,
very tragic.
I think the point over here was the number one point we talked about was empathy. But the other thing is that it's not that the West doesn't have strategic initiatives against maybe some countries or against maybe some religions as well. They probably do as well. But we have to use our common sense, you know. It's not all the time. And the certain things that we bring up, no one cares about them. You know, there are areas, regions, beliefs. People have much bigger things to do. So we should focus.
Can I add one sentence here? The West is indifferent towards religions. Indifferent. They don't care, including Islam.
They have
indifferent.
Yeah, they might have oil and gas issues. They might have strategic location
they're
issues.
like, practice your own religion, do whatever you want. But when you want to hurt somebody else, तो फिर ये कहते हैं कि ये नहीं करने देंगे हम आपको.
And there could be few elements which are bad. And what the point I'm making, there are also some elements that come and that really want to emancipate a human being and make them educated. There's a lot of people who invest their lives to go in these areas. In Africa, I'm not talking about Muslim countries only. They go and invest and actually help to get awareness and to become someone who can apply common sense, right? So that's the perspective we probably need to have. But Hamza, is there from this whole perspective, because we are trying to help people educate us and start looking at from an empathy standpoint, right? What's your message when people hear stories, when people hear, and it's related to Islam, because in particular, are there any steps people should take to kind of counter it, to say if it makes sense, is it real or not real? Because remember, people go on the streets in certain countries with these conspiracy theories.
Yes, I know. I mean, ek to वैसे ही one shouldn't be very prone to conspiracy theories, but you mentioned empathy. I want to just talk last कुछ minutes about that. Empathy is the one thing, अगर आप मुसलमान हैं, पूरा आप कुरान आगे से लेकर पीछे तक पढ़ लें, अगर आप में empathy ही नहीं है, empathy या दूसरों के लिए feel करना, I fail to understand how you would say कि मैं मुसलमान हूँ, इंसान तो दूर की बात है. So I think if you don't have empathy, then you lack a very basic human trait which is needed for you to be called a human being. If you don't have that, तो इस्लाम तो चलो साइड पे भी रखने, आप तो फिर मसला आपके साथ कोई, आप या सोशियोपैथ हैं, या नार्सिसिस्ट हैं, या आप साइकोपैथ हैं, because empathy is that important. And when you talk about conspiracy theories, if somebody wants to have an escape in their life and blame a person or a nation, when they want to escape their failures, they will go towards conspiracy theories. The best way to free yourself from this world of conspiracy theories is think critically for yourself. ये नहीं कि मैंने उधर देख लिया, ये मैंने फेसबुक पे कोई पता नहीं कौन सी न्यूज़ का लिंक देख लिया, वो आर्टिकल देख लिया, फलाने यूट्यूब की मैंने वीडियो देख ली उसकी, मैंने उस स्कॉलर की वीडियो देख ली, वो ये कह रहा था. नहीं, think for yourself. The next time anybody says that America wants to destroy Islam or Europe wants to destroy Islam, खुद सोचो कि अगर if they want to destroy Islam, तो why are they letting you freely practice your religion? अब यहाँ पे वो एक और कॉन्सेप्ट आ जाता है, यहाँ से कंस्पिरेसी थ्योरी का मैं बता रहा हूँ, शाखें कहाँ से निकलती हैं. When you say that to the people who believe in conspiracy theories, they say कि yeah, they give you freedom to practice your religion because, लेकिन अब यहाँ पे रीजन आ जाता है, because they only want you to practice your religion in your houses or behind closed doors, है ना? यही कहते हैं ना. Never bring us. They don't want you to bring Islam into the collective life of the people. That's why. You get the point? कि दीन इस्लाम जब पावर में नहीं आता तो वो मजहब है, लेकिन जब वो पावर में आ जाता तो वो दीन है, राइट? इस तरह की बेशुमार आपको इंटरप्रिटेशंस मिल जाएंगी. Let me assure you, all these conspiracy theories की इंटरप्रिटेशंस बेशुमार हैं. आप अगर इंटरेस्टेड है कि आप मैं चेक करूं कि व्हाट आई बिलीव क्या वो कंस्पिरेसी थ्योरी है या नहीं है, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन पर्सन टू पर्सन. जस्ट थिंक फॉर योरसेल्फ. सारा इंटरनेट आपके सामने, दुनिया की सारी इंफॉर्मेशन आपके सामने. ट्राई टू थिंक क्रिटिकली एंड यू विल रियलाइज कि ये सब कुछ सच्चाई होगी इनमें, बट रेस्ट बी एश्योर्ड, वेस्ट को इस्लाम से उस तरह प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. जरा चाइना पे भी नजर डाल, जरा इस तरफ नहीं जाते. हमारी जो मजहबी सेंटिमेंट है ना, वो ज्योग्राफी है कि ईस्ट में नहीं जाता, वो सारा वेस्ट की तरफ जा रहा है.
No, there are other cultures, you're right. I mean, I just had a very deep experience living in Singapore for Japan and Korea and China as well.
Is there a mosque in Singapore?
There are hundreds of mosques in Singapore. Every 1 kilometer there's one mosque in Singapore.
Imagine.
And the best thing about Singapore is that it has both Eid holidays, and when you pay like $10 for fitrana at a mosque or any other charity, it automatically comes to your taxes for deduction.
आखिर में 5 मिनट देने आपने, 5 मिनट देने आपने मुझे आखिर में. मैंने एक बड़ी ज़रूरी बात करनी है, ठीक है, बड़ी ज़रूरी है. आपकी बात से मुझे याद आया. देखिए बात से हमारे मुसलमानों को, I'll tell this in Urdu because I want Pakistani audiences to listen to it. हमें ना इस वॉरियर माइंडसेट से, इस कमांडो माइंडसेट से, अर्तुगरुल माइंडसेट से हमें बाहर आना चाहिए. हमें रियलिटी देखनी चाहिए कि हम वी आर वेयर वी आर इन द वर्ल्ड, टेक्नोलॉजिकली, सोशली, पॉलिटिकली. हमें फैंटेसीज की दुनिया से निकलना चाहिए. ये जो लोग ये मानते हैं कि अल्लाह के हुक्म है कि जंग करो, बस दुनिया को ये कर दो, वो जाके एक दफ़ा प्लीज़ कुरान देख लें, एजुकेशन हासिल कर लें, लेट्स गेट आउट ऑफ इट। पिछले 100 साल के अंदर कितने लाखों करोड़ों मुसलमान शहीद हुए हैं, मरे हैं। इतने हमारे अच्छे प्यारे नौजवान, कोई किसी एक्सट्रीमिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जाके मार रहा है, कोई इधर जाके मार रहा है, कोई उधर जाके मार रहा है। दिस नीड्स टू एंड नाउ। फ़ायदा क्या हुआ? कुछ भी नहीं हुआ ना। क्या यूरोप में इस्लाम आ गया? क्या रशिया में इस्लाम आ गया? चाइना में आ गया इस्लाम? ऐसे नहीं आता। गुजारिश इधर ये है कि व्हेन टुडे वी हैव ऑल द फ्रीडम्स इन द वर्ल्ड, यू सेड सिंगापुर हैज सो मेनी मॉस्क्स, दुनिया पूरी के अंदर फ्रीडम है। क़यामत के दिन अल्लाह ताला विल नॉट आस्क यू कि व्हाई डिडंट यू टेक आउट योर सॉर्ड एंड अमेरिका फतह क्यों नहीं किया था जाके। ये तो नहीं पूछेंगे अल्लाह में। अल्लाह में पूछेंगे बेटा मेरा पैगाम देना था ना, तो दुनिया में फ्रीडम्स थी, सेफ्टी थी, ये इंतज़ाम किसने किए? अल्लाह ने किए। इंफॉर्मेशन रेवोल्यूशन आ गया, इंटरनेट अवेलेबल है, तो अल्लाह ताला फिर पूछेंगे कि बच्चे क्या प्रॉब्लम था कि मेरा पैगाम अब दुनिया को पहुँचाने की बजाय आपने बंदूक निकाली, आपने तलवार निकाल ली और मेरे नाम पे जाके कभी चर्च में किसी को मार दिया, कभी सड़क पे किसी को मार दिया, कभी कहीं धमाका कर दिया, कभी किसी के खिलाफ नॉनसेंस बोली, कभी किसी को गालियां दी, कभी किसी के खिलाफ कुछ किया। ये पूछेंगे ना अल्लाह ताला कि क्या ज़रूरत थी जब अमन दे दिया था मैंने तुम्हें। तो गुजारिश मुसलमानों से ये है, खुदा का वास्ता आखिरी दौर चल रहा है, ये कुछ 100-200-300 साल ही होंगे मेरे ख्याल है, ज़रा अक्ल के नाखून लें। अल्लाह ताला डोंट मेक अ मॉकरी आउट ऑफ रिलीजन, बिकॉज दुनिया के अंदर आप कैसे उनको पैगाम दें? हम यहाँ अमेरिका के अंदर जाए किसी को पैगाम दो, वो पहले ही आपसे बात करता है कि आप तो हमें मारना चाहते हैं, आप तो फतह करना चाहते हैं, आप तो फलाना करना चाहते हैं, मेरी गर्दन इफ़ आई एम फलाना तो आप तो मुझे मार देंगे। अच्छा, एक बंदा मेरे से पूछता है इफ़ आई बिकम अ मुस्लिम, अब मैं मुसलमानों को कह रहा हूँ कि अपने गिरेबान में झांके, हम 24 घंटे कहते हैं वो फलाने नहीं, फिंगर इधर करें। मेरा दोस्त है, मैंने उसे इस्लाम के बारे में बताया, ही आस्क्ड मी वन क्वेश्चन, दैट दिस इज बिफोर आई न्यू दिस साइड ऑफ द स्टोरी जो हम इंटरप्रेट करते हैं। उसने कहा बताओ इफ आई बिकम आई विल बिकम अ मुस्लिम, ही सेड डन, राइट नाउ मैं कलमा पढ़ूंगा। अच्छा, but what if 6 months or a year later I don't agree with it? I want to become he was a Buddhist at that time. Okay. He said, what if I want to go back to Buddhism? क्या कहेंगे आप उसको? आप मुझे बताएं 99.99999 ट्रेडिशनल नैरेटिव के अंदर what will you answer to that?
मुनकिर
नहीं, अपोस्टेट, मुर्तद, यानी कि आपको सो जब उसने मेरे से पूछा कि व्हाट डज इस्लाम से अबाउट इट, कि मैं मुसलमान हो जाऊँ, मुझे नहीं समझ, साल बाद मैं कहता हूँ मैं छोड़ के बुद्धिस्ट हो रहा हूँ, मैं चुप हो गया। मैं उसको क्या बताऊँ कि हमारे यहाँ सबसे बड़ी राइज इंटरप्रिटेशन ये है कि आपको कत्ल कर दिया जाएगा। यू फ्री टू कम इन बट यू कांट गो बैक। सो मुसलमानों, मेरे भाइयों, मेरी बहनों, मेरी जानों, मैं आप में से हूँ, आप भी उन्हीं में से हैं, गामदी साहब भी मुसलमान हैं, हम सब मुसलमान हैं। आए इस आखिरी दौर में वी शुड गैदर आवर ट्रूप्स टुगेदर, वी शुड लुक इनटू आवर ओन गिरबान एंड सी कि अगर आज दुनिया में इस्लाम को नहीं कोई उस तरह सुन रहा, नहीं अमेरिका मुसलमान हो रहा, नहीं यूरोप मुसलमान हो रहा, चाइना नहीं मुसलमान हो रहा, रशिया नहीं हो रहा, पूरा साउथ अमेरिका वो बहुत ही यतीम है, उसको कोई देखता ही नहीं है साउथ अमेरिका को, वो अगर नहीं मुसलमान हो रहा, 8 अरब में से सिर्फ 1.5 अरब मुसलमान है दुनिया में, तो इसमें सबसे बड़ा कसूर हमारा है। हमने ये म्यूटेटेड किस्म की इंटरप्रिटेशंस बनाई हुई हैं जिसके ऊपर हम जाके लोगों को कहते हैं इस्लाम कबूल करो।
Hamza beautifully said. I don't think we need to add further to that, but I wanted to tell the audience a couple of things over here. Number one, this is our opinion. This is not, we are not representing in general and any scholarly opinion. This is a student. We are students, and as students, what we thought and how we interpret it. But we thought these topics are there. It should generate a discussion. And they should generate a discussion. And the point I want to complete that beautiful thinking that you talked about, you want to become an influencer. And if you want to become an influencer, you influence based on the things that matter to human beings, that matter to societies. It could be technology. It could be things that you execute in practice as a human being, yourself. I mean, for example, speaking the truth and how pious you are can be interpreted from that. And the other thing we talked about today was empathy. You know, it's important for removing the hypocrisies in you, for adding tolerance, that you start looking at the perspective from how others look at you. And if you want to really influence the concepts such as Hamza, you mentioned about promoting Islam, for example, if that's the target, then you have to do it by how people will perceive. It will come from common sense. That's why I took it. Any closing comments on that?
Just let there be freedom of information and discussion and to exchange ideas. Everything will fall into place. That's what Allah Ta'ala has told us, like Rafiddin.
Very good, Hamza. Let there be freedom of information and exchange of ideas. Hamza, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Hopefully, we'll come back with some other topics. As I said again, we are students, and this is just to help all of us to start a debate. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.